Hello, welcome everybody. We are making some changes today. I had some technical difficulties, so I am recording my first conversation with a nurturer this week via Zoom and uploading it onto YouTube because you can always just adjust when you need to. So I am thrilled to have Dianne on today. We met October. Hold on, I've got a friend coming by. This is working. It's okay, buddy. Anyways, working from home. So Dianne and I met in Calgary in October. And I remember talking to you at, I believe, the booth that I had, the table. But I was so exhausted. It was a huge deal. I trained, in front of 1,200 people. It was a big, scary, hairy ordeal. I ended up missing my super early morning flight out of Canada that I was connecting with and going to somewhere else in California. And it was you're in a different country and you miss your flight. Worst thing ever, right? My phone was ringing and it was the airline saying, we're getting ready to take off. Are you going to be here? And that's how I woke up for the day. And so I got everything rearranged. I got into the taxi and Dianne was there. How did we do that? We ended up in the same
car.
We
were in the same shuttle. Yep.
Yeah, we ended up in the same shuttle and had the most incredible conversation. And I just connected with you at this level. And I knew that I was like, okay, this was a good reason for me to miss my flight. And then 6-7 months later, we've connected again, and it's just a thrill and a pleasure. So I know that things happen for reasons, and I'm just very thrilled to have you on for my conversation today. So just some background. What I'm doing is going through each week one of the 4 bank codes. So I started off with conversations with blueprints. The next week, conversations with action. This week, I'm focusing on the nurturing code. And what I love is I've asked people to put their full bank code on because we really are a combination of all 4 of these. So you could be talking to a nurturer knowledge who will sound very different from a nurturing action versus a nurturing blueprint. And so it's kind of fun to listen through as these conversations go on. I am asking the same set of questions every week to every person. Dianne does not know what the questions are. She's been very trusting and said, let's just have a conversation. So welcome, Dianne.
Thank you.
So why don't we start with just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was a stay-at-home mom for 25 years. I have 5 children, and I was the kind of person who put everything into that, not 100%, 200%. Even making their own clothes, cooking everything from scratch, just teaching them everything. And so then when I turned 50, my daughter went on tour to Afghanistan. And she said, you're not going to be able to handle this. What are you going to do? And so she said, you've been talking for years about going back to school. And I'd taken courses all the way through and do something you really wanted to do. So I went through to get my master's in psychotherapy, doing clinical counseling, and a divinity master's. And so it kind of pulled all the pieces together of various things I've been doing throughout my life.
Wonderful, thank you. I had to mute. I've got some stuff going on in the background there. So what brings you joy in life?
So I get joy. I used to think I got joy from serving. I do, but I realized the real joy comes from bringing out the best in people, helping others become their best. I guess mentoring people, and that can be wherever they want to go. So it can be mentoring towards a direction, but then I realized my even deeper joy came from helping people who are broken. If you gave me a choice between going to a wedding or a funeral, I would choose the funeral because I feel like everyone's happy at a funeral, but no one knows what to do at a funeral. So I love working with people. So I've specialized in trauma and grief, and I love those moments when someone who's suicidal suddenly finds a hope to live. Those moments when people are connecting now with, as a couple or as a family, who are able to learn how to connect better, who are learning healing, and that can be very, I look at it very holistically. So yes, I do a lot with emotions, a lot with their thinking, a lot with their spirituality, and just how can people get to become the person that they should be.
Fantastic. Oh, I love that. I want to switch it to the other side. What challenges you in life?
I think for as a nurturer, thinking that especially, I think I never found my action side before. So I was stuck in totally in the nurturing role before. So there's two things. One was a total burnout. By the time my daughter left and my kids all started leaving home, I had a severe burnout. So bad that I ended up going for therapy myself, and that's what started me on the journey to become a counselor. And it was just doing, giving, serving, which is what I love to do, but I did it too much and I didn't have the balance. So much so that now in the COVID lockdown, I said to my kids at Christmas, I love spending time with you, but I'm not raising any more grandchildren. I've helped with children, grandchildren. This is it. And of course, now my daughter, who's a single mom, is an essential worker, and her 2-year-old needed to be looked after. So here I am again, looking after a toddler and raising him. And I was getting really frustrated, but I realized it's mentoring in a different role. I'm mentoring him as an individual, and he's 2. So the things I put into his life now will be changes for his whole life. And then I think the second challenge I have as a nurturer, and I see this a lot with my clients, is kind of knowing who I am. I kind of lost myself in the journey of my life. I'm just turned 61 and I'm still trying to find out who I am, because I think as a nurturer, we get pushed into places where we're trying to please people. We're trying to get other people's expectations. We start something, but we try to follow someone who maybe isn't really like us. And so I think finding out who I really am and what is my uniqueness as a person.
Wow, that's really, really powerful. I got chills when you were talking about mentoring, your 2-year-old grandson, because that's such a formative age, and being able to reframe it and put that in and realize that self-care, I think that is a common challenge, especially for people that are high in nurturing. It's you want to give so much, and you've demonstrated that that's been a challenge for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to switch gears a little bit in terms of looking at a buying situation. So you're going into a buying situation. What things matter to you most? If you're going to make a major purchase, what things do you look for and what things matter to you the most?
I really like a connection with the person, especially if it's a higher end sale, but even the lower end sale. I want to feel like I connect with them, they understand me, they know what I'm looking for. They'll maybe take a little bit of extra time, they're not going to rush me. I can't stand the typical, in the past, what you used to think of kind of that ego salesperson, who's really driven. Those people are going to turn me off because I'm thinking they just want their sale. However, the last vehicle I bought, it was actually, I pushed my decision up a little bit because the salesperson told me, I already knew I wanted the vehicle. And he said, well, if I sell it this week as opposed to next week, I will get a bonus. So I thought, oh, well, let's help him out and let's make the decision sooner. So, and here's the biggest thing with buying now, I'm finding that I have money in a career, is I love buying gifts. So you can tell me something for myself, which I might love, but it's buying gifts for people, which it gives me probably the most joy in buying.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I think you already touched on it. What are pet peeves in a selling situation? So somebody that kind of like aggressive salesperson. Is there anything else that you can think of, or is that pretty much it?
I think also if I sort of look at the company, not in the sense of I don't want to know all the details of the company, but also if there aren't good ethics with the company. So let's say a company presents as we're very ethical, especially if they're working with certain groups of people, do they pay the people well? So if I find out a company isn't paying their people well, or even if someone tells me about a bad experience, I may not buy from that company, even though they might give me a good deal.
Awesome. Yeah, anybody that's watching, what she said. I'm just like, yeah. Okay, so how do you feel about rules?
Rules. The golden rule. Do unto others. I think that's probably the only rule, which isn't really a rule. I think I don't like the word rule. I think I would probably go for boundaries. I always use the analogy in my counseling of a bridge. You can see the bridge behind me. I have a bridge on the other side. I'm always talking about bridges. And bridges are the journey that we take along from one place to another. We have to explore where we came from, but we don't always know where we're going, because my pictures of bridges don't have the end result. So I'm thinking with that is we want boundaries. We're all traveling in the lanes across the bridge. There's certain place we have to be, but we can be in different lanes on the bridge. We're traveling with people sometimes by ourselves. So I think rules in and of themselves, I think just the whole word, I don't like that word. And I always think until I knew about nurturing and that my gifts were different, I always wondered why there were rules, because I never wanted to do anything to hurt anyone. And I always felt like as a child, I never really got in trouble. I sort of followed what was expected. So I always thought rules weren't necessary. But now that I've learned there's different people, yeah, certain people do need rules.
That's so wonderful. And you're giving a different, we typically teach, like, generally speaking, nurturers kind of look at rules. They're meant to be like bent sometimes, and that's kind of like, just boundaries, guidelines. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, I've got 3 minutes left because I have a meeting with a blueprint. So I'm going to ask, but what's perfect, this is the last question. I very much enjoyed this. How do you go about making a decision in a situation that feels risky to you?
That used to scare me a lot because I would be afraid of hurting other people. Now I'm learning, as I'm getting older, to ask the right people, to find out from people. And actually, now that I have a lot of military connections, they have a thing called, I believe it's called risk management. You figure out the risk and you decide whether it's something that makes sense or not, but I can do that within my own values. And so I can look at, does it fulfill my values? And now I do take risks when it's just myself more. So for instance, for business, setting up my own private practice to do counseling, I've got all kinds of other ideas now that I'm going to take a risk and I'm going to act on them. I'm doing courses in parenting, and I should do that now that I've looked after my toddler grandson. I realize, wow, I've forgotten how challenging that was. So I think I'm taking more risks because I see them as things that can help people. And if things don't go right, that's okay. It'll just work itself out, like the technology for getting on this call. Like, we just figure out a way to do it and it's okay. Whereas in the past, I think it really stressed me out more. So I think working with a team is how I would do it now. I just wouldn't probably do it on my own.
That's fantastic. Dianne, it's been such a pleasure we've been chatting and working on some other things together, and I've very much enjoyed it, but it's really special having this conversation with you. And I have a feeling, I think we would have a connection if our bank codes were different, but I think because our codes are so similar, even with the advanced assessment, our numbers are very similar. It just kind of adds and makes things easier. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your patience in going through the technology and working through it and being flexible. And I appreciate your input and contribution to my project. So, all right.
Thank you for having me, Amanda.